please welcome Daisha Portal.
Thank you. I'm gonna sit down because it's early. Ooh, goodness. Goodness. Good morning. Good morning. Okay. So I was told I needed to speak a little bit about myself and how I got started and all the things that have been transpiring here in Dallas in this art community that I truly love and appreciate. Just to give you a little bit of background, Daisha Board. I'm originally from Queens, New York, born and raised. Came here when I was in high school. My mother works for American Airlines, so grew up in Arlington. Graduated from Lamar High School. Ran track, played basketball, all the things. Got a full track scholarship to Bethune-Cookman University in Daytona Beach, Florida. Ran track there. Graduated with a poli-sci degree in African American Studies. After graduation, I came home. I thought I was going to go into studying abroad and all the things, but my mom had different plans for me. She wanted me to go to law school. I came home and I fell in love, so that did not happen. But I'm grateful for the experience that I did have with that relationship because it produced our first son, who is 23, going on 24. So after college, I got into real estate and mortgage, the mortgage industry and finance. Started off in lending, worked my way up as one of the top analysts for Fannie Mae. Had a thriving career as an analyst for over 15 plus years. Then I got laid off. I got laid off in 2017. And at that time, I was already kind of trying to figure out if this was the career I wanted. I was pretty miserable, honestly. I was the only Black woman on my team. I couldn't wear my hair naturally. A lot of things that prohibited me from existing and being myself fully and authentically, I couldn't do in corporate America. So I was really grateful that they let me go. I just had to figure it out and figure out a way to have a sustainable business because I felt the urge to be my own boss. I didn't want to be disposable to anyone else. So I started going to galleries and museums and really kind of digging deep into my senses and what made me feel good and what brought me joy. And I started taking my kids. I have three. My oldest is 23 now, our middle is 17, and our youngest is 14. But at the time, my daughter was about 7. And we would go to the museums and DMA and the Nasher and all these places. And she kind of pointed out as the Gemini and the spiciness that she is. Oh my gosh. She's like, Mommy, I love all this art. It's pretty dope. It's really cool. I'm glad you're teaching us about it. But I don't see anyone who looks like me. And she was like 7. And I was like, oh my God, representation absolutely matters, right? And so I was like, you're right. Like, I'm showing you all of these artists that you have no relation to. You don't see yourself within them, within the work that they're creating, and none of that. And so I challenged myself to really figure out where these artists were located here in Dallas. And I removed myself from the galleries and the institutions, and I went to coffee shops and warehouses like this and studios and, all these different places where all these creatives were. And I was asking them, what is the problem? Why aren't you being seen here in Dallas? Because the work is dope and it's phenomenal. You have, strong narratives. What are some of the issues that you're facing? And honestly, it was that representation. It was the fact that a lot of these artists only felt appreciated when it was convenient, Black History Month or Pride Month or Asian Heritage Month. And that's just not how we exist. Come on, y'all. Like, we know we are who we are 360 days a year. Am I right? 365 days a year. I'm sorry. Shit. Excuse me. It's early. I'm thinking the eclipse. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, I'm still eclipse right. But no, seriously, like I really wanted to find a space for these artists. And that's what led me to creating Black Sheep art culture. I'm a hip hop head. If you know anything about rap music, Black Sheep is one of my favorite groups. And I really wanted to create a space where people of color, people who aren't necessarily in this elitist crowd, that typically happens when you go into these galleries, could feel safe and feel appreciated and their voices could be heard. And so creating Black Sheep Art Culture, which is our nonprofit, I was able to establish different tours around the city. And that's how we started. I put it on social media. Instagram was amazing for us. We did tours at the Modern, at the Dallas Contemporary, at the DMA, and people were so excited to see art for the first time and step into these spaces. And whenever they had an artist of color or a queer artist, we would introduce those artists to them. And then we would take them to artist studios so people can acquire art and be excited about that. They didn't realize, oh yes, you can buy art. That's something a lot of my other clients have done for a long time. But to have it gate kept here in Dallas, it's just not how we roll. And so to create a safe space where people felt comfortable coming in, expressing their thoughts, expressing their emotions, and these artists were really feeling seen, I figured, okay, well now I can maybe figure out the business model. And so I had a gallerist friend who I asked if I can just kind of shadow and learn the model, learn the business, because my background is finance and I have no clue how to run, an art gallery. And so she was very kind and pulled me under her wing and taught me some of the fundamentals. But I still realized that most of these galleries and spaces were not as inclusive as they said they were. And so I decided in October 2021, I was just going to step out on faith and open up my own gallery. I shopped it around to several lenders to get funding and capital, and they all turned me down. Oh my God, I had the bomb business plan and all the things, all my numbers were good and forecasts were good. And they were just like, you think Black people will buy art? Like anybody can buy art. Yeah, like truly, like put it out there. Like, oh, we don't think that that's a model we can invest in right now. Just come back in 3 or 4 years and see how it goes. Okay, well, fine. So my husband and I, we decided, well, listen, we have two options. You can go back to work, or you can invest what we have in our savings to open up this business. So I literally invested every dime, over $75,000 to invest in our original space, because I believed in it. I believed that we could, create a space in Dallas that people would enjoy. People would feel, excited about seeing art and learning about these artists and just changing that narrative and that stigma behind who art is really for. And so we built our original space, a small, mighty space off of Sylvan, October 2021, bootstrapped that, and we opened to the most amazing just reception of people. I couldn't believe it. They say you build it and people will come. Well, that's exactly what happened. People came. And that's how I knew people were craving. They were craving for community. They were craving for a tribe. They were craving for, to be heard and to be seen. And this is all people, I don't just represent Black artists. I represent these marginalized artists that historically have not had an opportunity to be seen and heard. And if you come from a privileged background, you may not know how that feels, but it's important for these artists. They're our truth tellers. They're our storytellers. They're the ones that will continue on the conversation when you have governments that are trying to, erase the culture, erase their conversation, erase books out of libraries, all the things. So the artist's voice is very important. So within our first year, I signed about 7 artists. 7 out of 10 of those artists made 5 figures. I forecasted maybe 80,000 in sales. We did $250,000 in sales in our first year. But and half of that went to the artists, right? And so they were making 5 figures in a 6-week exhibition run. That's a whole year's salary, right? And so to reinvest that back into our economy, for them to be able to have housing and food and a car and all the things, is so important to keep that heartbeat of Dallas here in our city. So I'm really proud of the movement that we've had. There have been a lot of challenges, and I guess that's where the spiciness comes in. I'm a disruptor. I'm gonna disrupt this shit. I'm sorry. We're grown. We're all grown. I'm gonna disrupt it. A part of being spicy and having flavor is, saying I'm gonna pull from all of these different sources. I'm gonna have my BIPOC artists, my queer artists, my artists with disabilities, and give them a platform, be this vessel for them to share their work. And a lot of these other spaces here in Dallas, unfortunately, they try to create a narrative that's not true to their life. Whether they want to overemphasize their Blackness or they want to shadow their queerness, that happens. And so for these artists to be able to fully and authentically be themselves within this space. It's so important. Having this second space now, we opened it in August. This space is the space I've always, I've dreamt about, like having a space to really have community and culture and art and conversation, things that we take for granted nowadays that we can't necessarily do in some other spaces because we feel intimidated. To have this space to really show, the impact that we have not only in Dallas, but people are watching us. People are seeing what we're doing here and modeling our arts community in their cities. We hosted about maybe 25 of the CEOs, the Performing Arts Center CEOs last week, and they were super impressed. From Toronto, from the Kennedy Center to New Mexico to Kentucky, they're modeling what we're doing here in Dallas. They're seeing all of our growth, all of our diversity, all of our spiciness, all the things. So to have a space like this is so valuable for our community, and I really appreciate y'all showing up. This is just chef's kiss on what I envision Dallas to be and to look like. In this space, we show about maybe 10 artists right now currently, from London to New York to Venezuela. This artist is from LA, Mexico. I have a great collaboration with Latino Fine Art. I wanted to collaborate with a nonprofit here in Dallas to feature Afro-Mexican and Mexican artists, which is extremely important because of our demographics in Dallas. I thought that was important for them to also see a representation of themselves. We have great opportunities for acquiring art. My grandmother in New York, and I found receipts after she passed. And I'm backtracking, but I found receipts that she had where she paid Gordon Parks $10 a week. And if you don't know who Gordon Parks is, he's one of the most phenomenal photographers of our century. But she grew up with him. And so she would pay $5 a week for a print of his or a piece of, one of his photographs. And we have 6 in our collection now. And so just for her to have that insight way back then that she was established in this collection that she can pass down to us is just so important. So when we discuss acquiring art here, we have financing. I work with a great financer, third party. For anyone who wants art, they should be able to acquire it at any price point. And I'm really proud of that because people are coming to Dallas, what they say, like 300 doors a day are opening, per day. And then the traffic definitely shows it. It's hot mess on 75 all the time. But people appreciate that. They want to be able to say they own, a piece of art, whether it's a $200 piece or a $20,000 piece. They have ownership in that. And so we guide them and teach them how to do that. We provide professionals. I have an appraiser I work with, an IP attorney, an insurance agent, all the things to give you all the tools you'll need to establish a collection. And I'm proud that 85% of my collectors are Black and brown families collecting art for the first time, buying homes here in Dallas and buying art, not at TJ Maxx and Home Goods, but here, and they're excited and they're bringing their kids and they're bringing their grandparents and, they're showing me pictures of where they hung their art and, that's dope, because what they're doing is they're establishing legacies. They're establishing generational wealth, and we're teaching them how to do that. There's so many wonderful things that we're doing here in this city. I think our biggest challenge is there's still gatekeepers. There's still these people who, don't necessarily want to see change, but it's up to us to be able to advocate for each other, advocate for our artists, advocate for our community, advocate for these amazing gallerists who are actually doing the work, who are invested in the community and giving back to our community and providing resources for our community. That's the power of Dallas. That's how I see and envision our next phase of what Daisha Board Gallery will be doing. And going into that, this spiciness is going to travel to Mexico City. I'm looking at property there now to establish a space. Yes. Yeah. That's what it is. It's about mixing up that pot, shaking it up, making it very inclusive and diverse and creating a safe space for these artists. That's about all I have to say. Was that about 15, 20 minutes? I got 5 more minutes? Okay. I'm trying to think, y'all. Oh my gosh. I'm a late bird. I'm telling you. I wake up maybe around 10 o'clock. But no, it has been a rewarding experience. We won Best Art Gallery for the past 2 years with Patron and D Magazine, which has been extremely humbling. We had this amazing campaign with Visit Dallas. But all that said, I don't have a huge board. I don't have a board, period. I'm the board, Daisha Boards, right? But I have amazing staff. I have dedicated people who love and support what we're doing, who show up when I need them. And we have an amazing fair here, and I haven't been invited the past 2 years since I've been open, and all the accolades, I've yet to be invited to that fair. And that's disheartening, because it's right here in our backyard. And so the things that we can challenge the system on is saying, well, why isn't she there? Why don't we have representation from Daisha Art Gallery at one of the top fairs in the country when we're doing so much good work? And so that's a part of the extension that I would love for my community to stand up and show up, because it is hard. I want to stay here in the 10th District. This is an amazing location. There's so much growth and opportunities. You have all of the studios over there. 6 of my artists are back there in those studios. Butch provides an amazing resource for them to have a safe space to create, on subsidized rent. They pay when they can, but how long is that going to last? And so we have to advocate for more funding. This area should be a historic area where it's protected and all the things, but you have gentrification and all the things that are happening. So what can we do? What can we do to create an environment where there's some sustainability within our art and culture community? So I do challenge people like Damani, our commissioner, right? Who's super dope himself. He was one of the first to embrace me and all that we do. Martine as well, when she came in, our Office of Art and Culture Director, when she came in from Atlanta, the first space she visited was mine. Right off the plane, she came directly to my gallery. And so that just proves to me that she's 10 toes down. She's ready to commit herself to the growth of Dallas. But I do challenge you all to be very much more active if you can. If you haven't been, challenge yourself to really be an advocate, because we need them. I can't fight this fight by myself. I can't support the mission by myself. And it doesn't cost anything to support. That's my spiciness. Well, so crazy.
We're really good on time.
Okay.
10, 15 minutes.
Okay.
Questions, y'all got any? She's really good. That's some examples of how we do it for you.
For specifically within the gallery, we're always looking for volunteers. We have some amazing programming that we do within each of our exhibitions. Our exhibitions run every 6 weeks. This one ends on May 4th, but we'll probably extend it for a week. In between that time, it typically takes me about a week to deinstall and install the new show. So if you're interested in the curation process, that'll be a great opportunity to come in and volunteer, to learn how to deinstall the work, package the work, inventory the work, all the things that we do. And then when we install, creating the labels and all the things. So there's plenty of opportunities to come in and be a volunteer. I would also suggest, if you are willing to donate, we have a 501c3, which is Black Sheep Art Culture. You can donate to that, which is our parent umbrella company over at the DBA, Daisha Art Gallery. And that just supports giving honorariums to our artists. I advocate for equity. Not only are we a space that provides inclusivity, but equity. Pay our artists. When corporations asked me, I was overwhelmed with requests for Black History Month. Oh my God. Like January 31st, they were calling, can I get 10 pieces of art, for this location? And I'm like, well, what's your budget? Oh, we don't have, but can you just bring them and prop them up on easels? Well, no, honey, it don't work like that. Like, this is a business. Like, there's insurance, there's, there's labor, there's delivery, there's all these things that people don't think about. They just think it's, slap up an easel and throw the art on there. But that's how they don't take us seriously, right? And so we have to advocate for our artists to have equitable pay. So any donations like that for our nonprofit goes towards making sure my artists have honorariums when people ask them to, speak at conferences or workshops or any of the things. I want to be able to give them and compensate them something for their time, because a lot of them are struggling. We don't want them to be struggling artists all the time. So to give them, a coin, a couple of coins is always good. So donating, volunteering are great ways to advocate. And if you write, social media is a great platform. Get on social media. Tell them about us. I just got on TikTok. I didn't realize I had so many TikTok, videos out there, but that's a huge part of our marketing. So if social media is your thing and content creation is your thing, take a picture, share it, share it with your colleagues, share it with your company. A lot of these companies have budgets that acquire art and say, hey, this artist supports queer artists, BIPOC artists, use her, buy art from her, and create a corporate collection. So just, certain things like that you can do to help.
Also to add, we have tote bags.
That's like 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the sessions and Dallas Galleries for Art?
Oh, yes. So on your chairs, you had a booklet. Pull that out. Get your phone out. Go to Instagram or Facebook or whatever you do, and follow Dallas Galleries for Advocacy. So like I said, when I got into this space, I'm not going to name that name, but there is an organization here in Dallas that told me I was a little bit too much of a disruptor. And I wasn't invited to have a seat at their table, right? And so I was like, cool, no sweat off my brow, So what we did was we created our own table. And we have about 17 galleries now that have dedicated their spaces to creating more inclusivity, more opportunities for marginalized artists. And so Dallas Galleries for Advocacy is where we are. We are open to any arts organization, any gallery, any museum, institution that will have receipts for their work, not just talk the talk and not be performative, but actually show Dallas and the beauty that we have here in our city. So follow us, support all of these amazing galleries. They are so dope. Mm-hmm.
I heard a rumor that next Saturday there is perhaps an open studio across this great tin district.
Yes.
Have you heard about this?
I have.
Could you speak more about it?
Yes. The art walk, yes, Tin District. So this Tin District is it reminds me of Harlem. It reminds me of like certain parts of Miami, Wynwood. But we have so many different artist studios back there. There's another gallery. There's 500X, which is the oldest nonprofit in the state of Texas that it's artist run. And so we're having a walk. We're having a walk where all of the studios will be open. And that's the perfect place to talk to an artist. Go into their studio, find out what their inspiration is, buy their work. A lot of times they have it, they have it available to sell to you and just learn more about their stories. But there's over, I think, 60 studios back there. I believe it's from 9 to
10 to 5.
10 to 5. 10 to 5.
And they down to Tip District on Instagram, I heard.
Yeah. So yeah, that's great. Arts District is dope. We love it over there as well. But this is the heartbeat. I have to say, this is the heartbeat of the city. There's a lot of plans for this area that include the hotel and business. But we have to keep the integrity of the city alive by supporting the art. So if you can come out and support the Tin District, really appreciate it.
I thank you, Rico. Thank you. This area, I wanted to echo what you were talking about, this support aspect here with it. There's gentrification going on all around it. But this is exactly what it needs, right? The middle of it, and is a go Euro. So you're moving it, though. I hope that more happen in the state and you got to your way. And they don't tear down the warehouses that the terrain with some voice, some rain years, we just put it in place. And they want to tear it down. That's why we got your voice on. Yeah.
Comment, vote to Vivid Dallas, vote to the Philly style.
And so, but tell your city council first.
Tell your city council first. All the things that you need to do to advocate that they stay here. Then we were getting there. Then we have this 5 6 first.
Hi, Alicia. I'm Sandra. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. That's good. My question for you is you mentioned that with the challenge of combat fight, so I was wondering what has been your most recent big challenge. What did you learn? Oh goodness. So we just restarted a year, like 2.5 year mark. Um, so being that I have this finance background, I get, look at my, I'm like, this premium brand. What does that, I do know. Not know that. But yeah, right. I'll sort in those dates, but is raise a capital. That's my biggest tip. Like this thing comes with a larger rent. And then to produce all of our exhibitions typically cost me on average about $4,000 to $5,000 per exhibition. All that's out of pocket.
Just kind of clearing that hurdle and learning that strength of knowing, where we are financially, but knowing how much money we need to continue the mission. That's been, one of my biggest obstacles. But I'm learning so much through it, learning how to create pitches and proposals and all the things. But I find people are more generous when they know that it's coming from an authentic space. Like, I'm not going to not show you receipts. Like, you'll have the videos, you'll have the engagement, you'll see the kids, you'll see their parents, you'll see all these wonderful things that we're doing, and it's just not for a check. It's something that we're consistently doing. Yeah. Yes, in the back.
Let me click on it again.
Okay.
So,
I am not a parent, but I'm a very overly involved aunt, and I have a teenager who's 18, graduating this year. She's going off to school to get a liberal arts related degree in the creative world. And what would you say would be advice for somebody? I had a liberal arts degree but had to fight really hard to try to find income coming out. What would you say would be good advice for someone young who wants to participate in this and be a part of, sort of a cultural and artistic and creative revolution? Where should they start that young?
I think a lot of our youth, they stand in their own way. They get on social media and they want to kind of project what these other entertainers and people are doing, and they want it instantaneously, and that's just not how life is. And so being that aunt, make sure that your niece or nephew, niece comes and shows up, come to, these spaces like mine, these other galleries. We have volunteer opportunities, we have internship opportunities. I start my interns at 18. Two of our interns that started about 6 months ago now are my gallery assistants, so they can get a paycheck, yeah, and we pay them well. But just get out of your own way, get out of your own head, put your phone down and actually approach people and talk to people and tell them what you want. A closed mouth doesn't get fed. Like, really advocate for yourself, and that will give you so much more opportunities in the future to be that confident. And I know it comes with, age and maturity and all those things, but if you're that aunt, put them in those places. Yes.
hey,
Hello.
should we see you?
Thank you for bringing the amazing energy to the city of Dallas. And as a fan and follower of you, I watch you go to other cities. I would really like to know what, of the experiences that you have, when you go to other cities around the United States, what would you really like for Dallas to really do for the art world?
There's this perception of Dallas still that this is, cowboy country, that we have tumbleweeds rolling down the street and we're all on horses and all that. And so they don't necessarily take us seriously, but we are serious. We have, like I said earlier, so many people that are moving here with a lot more progressive thought. Just continue with that, like really continue with the conversation around art, equity, inclusion, creating safe spaces, doing the work, challenging our system to do the work, providing resources, all the things that a lot of these other major cities have that we don't have yet, we can advocate for. And that's the beauty of it. They're coming to Dallas because there's no state tax and it's cheaper, property and all the things, and great school districts. But in order to sustain like that model, the creative heart of the city has to, be sustainable. And so I think just really sharing our stories, what we have been doing, but just really on an elevated level. But they see us. They see what we're doing. When I go to LA and New York and all these amazing cities, I'm telling them about this change, this like renaissance that's happening, that's brewing, like spices, Like it's really brewing. I see it every day. People are moving here, coming here, and just like so excited to be in Dallas, right? And so a city where I thought I wasn't gonna be here that long because I was thriving. You know, I wanted to have more of a grasp on what was culturally stimulating for me, and it just wasn't here at the moment. But I'm glad that I'm in a position now to create more opportunities. So hopefully that answered your question. Yep.
Do you have ideas on how we can get you into Dallas Art Fair? And that is
Girl. Other things.
Right, Japanese. You said wrong. It's not like that.
That's it. That's it. I'm still wondering what their system of, inviting galleries is. There really isn't one that they, given me a straight answer. But I do know they did have their first Black-owned art gallery this year, which was Pencil on Paper Gallery. And they invited 2 other galleries from London and I believe one from New York, if I'm not mistaken, or LA, which is the first in 20 years for them. So they're making strides, but we're still here.
And brown artists being represented by non-Black and brown.
Right. And people take
articles.
Yeah. So people take notice of that, that's performative. That's for a weekend. That doesn't show the entirety of the city. And if you don't know much about fairs, these art fairs are extremely expensive. When we went to Art Basel, that cost me about $20,000 just to get there before I even sold a piece. A 6x4 booth costs about $15,000 here for the Dallas Art Fair, and up if you want larger. So it's coming out of our pockets, but yet we're still being told we're not invited to that conversation. And there's so many massive opportunities. It's not an ego thing for me. It's opportunities for our artists. I can only do so much surface level, right? I have to be able to take these artists to these fairs, to meet these, collectors who have amazing collections and institutions who have great permanent collections for them to be inquired into. That elevates them. That elevates Dallas. That elevates all of us, right? But like I said, there's gatekeepers. And so we have to make calls and emails and say, look, we need a representation that's here in Dallas, that's doing the work year round. What's the problem? And I've done my part. I can't do it by myself. Yeah. Yes.
Thank you for opening your gallery.
My pleasure.
My little grandchildren love to go to the DNA.
Mm-hmm.
They're huge fans of Big Man, Little Man. They have to run up the stairs every time to see them. But would it be appropriate, is there a good time to bring little kids here?
Oh, yes. We're a safe space for kids. Huh? Yeah. The kids drag their parents in here, There are disclaimers sometimes if we are showing nudity or any of the things, but I can tell you there's students that have been here that have a deeper appreciation for art than their parents give them credit for. And so I tell the parents, just listen. Just listen to them when they're here. Let them express themselves. Don't direct them, for what you see. Let them figure it out on their own. And it's just been amazing. We have kids who come in here with autism and on the spectrum, and their parents are like, this is the most quiet my child has been, in days, because they feel safe and they feel comfortable. We give them a sketchbook and they'll sit in front of a piece of art and just sketch, or they're attracted to the colors, and we talk about color theory, all these amazing things, just providing a safe space for them. So we're open for families and seniors and kids and all the people.
That's really good.
I'll do a question.
Okay. Hello.
Could I just see a quote?
You too.
as someone who is around artists all of the time, I was wondering if there's anything that you notice in terms of how these artists are cultivating and prioritizing creativity, and if there's any, qualities that you're noticing that you feel like that's allowing them to truly make sure that their creativity is
Right.
top of mind.
Right. I try not to be too much of a helicopter gallerist, I let them do their work, do what they do best. I do challenge them on different perspectives. I think because they've been so conditioned to create work that fits a different perspective and a different narrative other than their own, to give them permission to say, dig deeper. You got this. You know, don't let society or the market, you know, challenge you or dictate how you should present your art. And so I love the fact that most of them, majority of them now, are so much more confident. They're like, Daisha, I have this, but it's kind of controversial. Do it. Let's go. You know, that's what art is supposed to do for you. It's supposed to be, you know, uncomfortable. It's not supposed to make you comfortable. And so to give them permission, give them a platform, and to see that growth, I mean, it's amazing. You know, that's the next phase of what we're going to be learning from these artists, because they have a voice and they just want to be heard. So I love the fact that they're a lot more confident in their approach.
Hello. Hassan and Hunter, thank you for creating this space.
Thank you
and
for being
creating
here.
opportunities for artists. And so you mentioned looking at areas in Mexico City for potential Daisha for Mexico City. So what are the areas that you're looking at?
Oh, I can't tell you all that. I can't tell you all that. Just know it's there.
What do you think will be the stat?
So we're thinking about 24 months, you know, a 2-year time frame, but it could be sooner because there's a lot of growth in Mexico City right now. We want to get in while the real estate is good before it gets, ridiculous. But that is more than likely the next city because it's an international market for us. And so I'll have international recognition, appeal. It's very close, very inexpensive right now. So to have a space there would be ideal. And I have some partners that are working currently in the city to try to find us a good location. But that's a part of the growth, you know, to really have this international space now would put us at a different level of where we are. This isn't a hobby. This is a business. I'm creating a legacy. This is for my family. When my daughter didn't see herself in art, well, you know what? Now we have an art gallery. So you're on my board. You know, all of our kids are on my board. That's my board. I report to the kids. And we have monthly meetings about, you know, our P&L and all the things. And so they know what's up. Like, no, we didn't make any money this month, you know? So they can see that. But for me to be able to do that within the 24-month time frame, you know, I have to make sure that we're in good standing here as well. But I can't divulge any more information. Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daisha Borgia. Wow. All right. So we just have a few more announcements to make, but thank you so much, Daisha, for cultivating this inclusive safe space for, you know, Dallas artists, and thank you for sharing your journey and some insights.
Yes. Oh, I forgot to put my Sessions. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah?
Sessions is also in the book, too. I'm so sorry. So Sessions is our, I don't want to say after hours, like events, but it's more of a curated experience. We had live performances. I want this space to be all inclusive for performance arts, culinary arts. We're going to have a chef's tasting in 2 weeks, poetry, fashion, all the things, you know, to create another space for those creatives to come in. What I've learned since I've opened up the gallery is people are partnering up with one another. They're collaborating. They're like, oh my gosh, you're a photographer? Okay, I'm a poet, you know, or I have real estate, you know, let's have a space. You can put your art up in one of my properties. Like, there's so many opportunities now for these artists by coming here and creating, you know, these networking opportunities. So Sessions is just an extension of what we want to be able to create for our other genres of art within the city.
Yes, thank you. Definitely come back and check that out.